everybody, a warm welcome along to this bulletin from SportsBet TV and me, Paul Alster, as I look ahead to racing tomorrow on Saturday, the 14th of October, where there is a lot of really good racing on the flat, Newmarket and York in particular, but also there's some good racing getting underway at Chepstow. But I'm focusing my attentions on the two big flat meetings, and I'm going to have two selections for you. Now, if you happen to be new and discovering this channel for the first time, it's free. I give you one or two selections every weekend, and you can subscribe just by pressing the red button below this screen. Now, it was another excellent weekend for my followers last Saturday when Bielsa won at 12-1. That was one of just two selections I gave last weekend, and certainly you've had a great run for your money. Now, these tips are offered free at SportsBet, but if you are interested in more tips at weekends, festival and some midweek fixtures, then you probably should seriously consider joining me at my Patreon subscription service at Out in Front, which you can do so by just clicking on the link in the description panel just below this screen. And now is as good a time as there's ever been to join, because I'm in cracking form, and indeed last weekend had winners at 28-1 and 22-1, as well as three very nice placed horses at good each way odds, and that's just from my last 7 selections. 3 good placed odds, a 28-1 and a 22-1 winner as well, and that's of course on top of the winner I gave you here for free last Saturday. So have a good think about that. It's great fun with us at Out in Front. I think you would really enjoy yourself. Anyway, let's get on to Saturday's racing. And the first race I'm looking at is at York. On the Names Mile, where we've got the Coral Spin Trophy handicap, 100,000 quid or thereabouts. It's fairly testing ground, I think, good to soft in places, and 22 runners. And the good prize money has brought out a lot of our old favourites here who are having one of their final chances of the season to grab the spotlight. These really good 6 furlong handicappers. And these races see most horses with some sort of a chance, so I'm not going to go into too much depth about too many runners. It just isn't worthwhile. But obviously, the Ayr Gold Cup winner is back, significantly trained by Julie Camacho, who's had a stellar season to remember. Well, significantly has done his bit, and he should go well again under just a £4 penalty for the Ayr Gold Cup win, and with similar underfoot conditions. The stable's other runner is Pendleton, who is less exposed, but is one, I think, very much for shortlist after winning well on his rather belated return to the track at Thirst. You've got Guido for Katie Scott, Albashir for Archie Watson, and Montasib for William Haggis. They were 3rd, 4th and 5th respectively in the Ayr Gold Cup, and they're likely to be thereabouts again, while a step up to a better race might not stop the Ayr Silver Cup winner, Wob Wob Wob, for Tim Easterby, from running another good race. Apollo Gold is another super consistent horse this term, who should be right there in the thick of the action. So on to my selection. Well, it's actually 2 selections I have. I'm backing 2 in the race, one of which I'll be presenting at Out in Front, and the other one right here and now for you at SportsBet for free. And that is the David O'Mara trained Aberama Gold, the mount of Mark Wynne, who claims £3. It's a horse who, for a number of reasons, did really well this season. He's really seems to have recovered his mojo since he switched from Keith Dalgleish to David O'Mara. Now, this horse has always been best at around 6 furlongs with some give in the ground, so that's going to suit. And since he changed stables in July when Keith Dalgleish decided to hand in his license, the horse has been in tremendous form. He won the Sky Bet Dash, a very valuable and high quality sprint handicap over course and distance in the summer off a mark of 88. And then he famously followed up off a £7 higher mark of 95 to sluice through the mud in the Quagmire. That was the Stewards Cup in early August at Glorious Goodwood. After that, and maybe the Stewards Cup took a little bit out of him more than connections thought, he ran a little bit flat on his next 2 starts. But last time out, he did look as if he was still holding his form, and he ran much better than his finishing position of 14th suggests in the Ayr Gold Cup. If you watch the race, he was always prominent in the centre of the field after pulling very hard in the early stages where he must have burnt up plenty of energy he could have really done with at the end of the race. But despite that, he was still banged there at the furlong marker, and his early exertions only caught him out in the last 150 yards. That said, although he faded, he was still only beaten 3¼ lengths, which isn't at all far. And he's actually been dropped £2 since then. So I think he must have a shout. Back at a track that he likes, a course and distance he's won at already this year, and on ground that suits. And the weather's a bit unsettled up in God's own country. So any further rain is going to enhance his chances. And despite having taken a hike in the weights since July, I think he may yet have something to give. And with Mark Wynn's £3 claim also helping, I'd say that the 25 to 1 each way for 6 places with Paddy Power and the Betfair Sportsbook at the time of this recording is good value. And I'm optimistic that both Aberamagold and my out in front selection, I think they'll both be bang there where it matters most. So that's my first choice. On now to the second one, which literally will take place once they're just coming into the winner's enclosure, I suspect, at York, and that is across at Newmarket, the 240, the Seeyouatmidnight handicap, the second leg of the autumn double, 2¼ miles, a very valuable staying handicap on ground that is good to soft or thereabouts, and there's a maximum field of 34 runners, including many from Ireland and a lot more from England, or Britain, should I say. Stamina, that's what really counts for this race, because they're going to go a good gallop and the rain has come, so this is going to take some getting. The horse they've made favourite is a horse that you will remember if you've been following me for a while, because it's Pied Piper, the Gordon Elliott trained horse who went so close to winning for us at SportsBet in the County Hurdle at Cheltenham in March, only to be thwarted by my 66 to 1 winning selection at Out in Front, which was Favour. So that was one of the best forecasts I've ever put up. He's actually a hot favourite at around 9 to 2. And like so many of the very good dual-purpose horses in this race, including the likes of Gary Moore's Goshen, the Shunter, Noel Mead's Jesse Evans, Not So Sleepy for Hughie Morrison, Tritonic for Alan King, among others. Pied Piper is arguably well in at the weights relative to his ability over the jumps. I've just got my doubts, I may be wrong, as to whether or not this really smart 2-mile hurdler will have the stamina for a full-blooded 2¼ miles on the flat. So because of that, he really doesn't look value to me, even if he wins. Tashkon is a horse I tipped when he won recently. Brian Ellison trains. He'll like the soft ground. He was a brave winner at Chester, but he's got a lot of weight. And it would be a really mighty performance from him to win under this burden, even if the further rain, because he loves it when it's sloppy, will enhance his prospects. And then you've got others such as Zoffy, Motazen, and Mr. Escobar, one of Willie Mullins' runners, who I think are also of some interest. But the selection from me, Paul Alster, at SportsBet for the 2023 Seeyouatmidnight. Well, as I say, I'm backing 2 in the race, and they're both big prices. But here at SportsBet, I recommend a filly called Typewriter. Typewriter, she's trained by Andrew Balding, top trainer, and Callum Hutchinson, a very good £3 claimer, is going to be on this 4-year-old filly who has absolutely bags of stamina. And she ran a very nice trial over what is for her an inadequate 1 3/4 last time, when she was staying on 3rd at Goodwood a few weeks ago. It was a first run following an 8-week break, and I suspect that that probably has blown away any cobwebs, and she should strip that little bit, and essentially that little bit fitter. Now, earlier this season, this daughter of Glen Eagles ran very well to be 4th at York's May meeting, the Dante card, over just 1.5 miles, and then she finished 4th back at York in a Group 3 race. So she does have a touch of class. And then after that, she headed to Royal Ascot in late June, and she stepped up to the ultra marathon trip of Britain's longest race, very nearly 2 3/4 miles on the flat at the Queen Alexandra Stakes. And she actually came there with a really dangerous looking run towards the inside, 1.5 furlongs from home, before keeping on at just 1 pace on what was ground faster than ideal for her. In the end, though, she was only beaten just over 3 lengths into 4th behind the JP McManus own Dawn Rising. And that is good form in the context of this race. And she can be forgiven a slightly less successful run the time after that in really deep ground at Glorious Goodwood. It was a mud bath, as you remember. And after that, she was given a much needed break. I think under these conditions, she's going to go well. I think a strongly run 2¼ miles is going to bring her stamina into play without being a little bit too far, as I think possibly the Queen Alexandra was. So at 33-1 each way for 6 places at the time of this recording on Friday afternoon with Ladbrokes, Coral, Boyle Sports and Bet365. Typewriter is my sporting bet to run really big in what should be a great race. So that is the second of my 2 big price runners for you on Saturday. A nice little bit each way on each, and maybe the touch of the each way double. And remember, if you want more selections at big prices for the weekend and going forward as we start to get ready to move on after Champions Day and so on to what's going to be a great jump season, then just check out the link below at Out in Front on the description panel below this screen. But for now, from me, Paul Alster at SportsBet, I wish you a great weekend and the very best of luck. Bye-bye for now.